Making headlines for this week of November the 4th. Coup, counter-coup, or no coup. Alleged revelation points to a republic revolution, yet maybe not. Battle of Black Snake. Water protectors stand not only for water, but to prevent Lakota prophecy from coming true. Paris Accord. Whether it's climate, finance, or both, the global accord has now taken effect. And is there a disclosure deal? Musician and whistleblower hint at deal for limited revelation of ETs and space programs.
With news around, upon, within, and beyond our planet, the program makes me disclosure official. This is Cosmic Vision News. Here is Jeffrey West.
Greetings and blessings to all. There is perhaps good news and bad news this week. The good news is that it appears that we are approaching a breaking point in the ongoing enslavement of humanity and the destruction of our planet. How might one recognize this? It starts with the overwhelming amount of information and counter-information that is appearing on both the mainstream media and also in the alternative media surrounding the U.S. election. There is far too much to process, and this would suggest that there are forces feeling desperate enough that there is a need to create as much confusion as possible. It suggests that the status quo, or the current paradigm, is being exposed and shaken down, and there are apparently a lot of people who are being or feeling threatened enough and scared enough to throw out any trash information possible, hoping that people will believe it. The bad news is this. I honestly don't know what to tell you, folks. I admit that I have been emotionally and mentally distracted over the last number of weeks, and it has interfered somewhat with my ability to discern information. When I discern information, I have to first discern whether or not it feels true to me personally, in support of my own personal growth. And then I have to try to discern it again to determine whether or not it is appropriate to be shared with all of you. Sometimes something may feel right to me personally, may not be appropriate to share because it reflects only my own bias and may not necessarily serve the highest good of all. Then there may be something that does not entirely resonate with me, but I choose to share it. Although I try to be impartial, I realize it is very challenging because any information shared by any individual has varying degrees of bias attached to it, depending upon the individual and his or her life path experiences. I have been deliberately avoiding the charade of the U.S. election. I have not been interested in the dramas, nor in the wild emotions of journalists or people who are getting wound up into knots over a potential outcome of this election, if in fact it even happens. I had a story written for last week's newscast regarding the FBI reopening the investigation into Clinton. Just after uploading the newscast, my gut told me to pull the story, so I removed it and re-uploaded the newscast without that story. I had a long story already written for this week's newscast about as many of the points relating to the U.S. election that I could find this week, and the information that I had planned to share has again been called into question based on some other stories I have come across. Therefore, the dilemma is this: to choose not to share all the wild information that has crossed my path this week, including the information that has now made me question everything again, or I share it with a huge disclaimer that I honestly have no idea this week what is truth concerning the potential outcomes of this election. At this time, it is almost impossible to see the bigger picture of truth as it relates to the exposure of the global cabal and its dangerous influence and its ability to manipulate and profit from both sides of a conflict, or even both sides of an election. Are we witnessing a conflict taking place between groups within the cabal, the Bush-Clinton faction versus the Sheldon-Adelson-Trump faction? Or is it yet another clever attempt to perpetuate the illusion of freedom and democracy where people are led to believe that their vote actually means something. Having given it more thought, I am choosing once again not to go into all the hype stories about the election. I will mention one thing, however. A source named Steve Piznik posted a video this past week claiming that he is allegedly connected to an intelligence agency, and he revealed information of an alleged electronic coup orchestrated by the Clintons to protect Hillary while getting her elected to office. There is mounting evidence to vote rigging going on for this election. Piznik then makes another extraordinary claim that an electronic counter coup was undertaken with the help of certain intelligence operatives, with the help of WikiLeaks. The video appears quite positive and hopeful, and many people were actively sharing this video because of the content of his message. Something happened on the day of the newscast that gave me reason to stop and reconsider my choice to air all of this election fluff. A Skype conversation with Gordon Duff of Veterans Today revealed a few things to me. Among other things, Duff reported the following to me directly. Something is going on that is very right-wing and very evil, and that there was no counter-coup. He pointed out that a lot of the news out there now is made up, and it is getting really bad now. He pointed out a number of news websites that he claims are merely a front for cabal agenda material. Included in this list are globalresearch.ca, which I have used in the past for information, Counterpunch, Anti-War, and numerous others. He told me that Alex Jones is about as bad as it gets. Concerning Steve Piznik, Duff stated that Piznik's CV is entirely hot air. His Wikipedia uses references provided from his own statements where he lied to the press about his background. Now, does this mean that Duff has his sources and facts in line about Piznik? I cannot say definitively. The information, however, was just enough to get me grounded again and realized just how nasty the news information business has become at this time, and that I should continue to stay out of the energies of this charade of an election and just let everything play out for the highest good and try to interpret events after any possible election, because at least there may be some kind of an outcome, even if that outcome results in the election being postponed. For those who have not seen Piznik's video, I will include this link in the show summary. Also in the summary will be links to the 3 articles posted by Duff that highlights an alleged plan to set up FBI Director Comey to take a fall along with Clinton. So far, certain reports suggesting that Clinton may step down in her campaign this week have not materialized, at least as of the time this story was written. It could happen on Saturday, or something else could happen. Many people wanted the information from Piznik to be true. Perhaps even I was hoping that there was truth to his message. It is possible that there is truth within it. As Duff said to me, all the trolls are coming out in full force now. Thus, this makes it incredibly challenging to inform all of you when I am having a hard time getting informed myself in any meaningful way, at least on this particular story. So, let's just see what happens next week. In other geopolitical news, in Iceland, the outcome of last week's national election was perhaps not quite what most were expecting, but it is still an outcome that has the potential for great collaboration and change. It is a complicated result, but even in this complication, it is still much clearer than the charade in the U.S. CVN reported last week that the election was showing the current government coalition going down in defeat, and that is what happened. A couple of younger political parties, including the Pirate Party, made very impressive gains in the election. On October 30th, the Iceland Monitor reported the results as follows. The Independence Party received 29% of the vote and 21 MPs. The Left Green movement received 15.9% of the votes and 10 MPs, which is 3 more than in the last election. The Pirates received 14.5% of the votes and also claimed 10 members of Parliament, which is 7 more than in the last election. The Progressive Party received 11.5% votes and 8 members of Parliament, losing 11 seats. The Regeneration Party received 10.5% and 7 members, thus becoming a new political party in Parliament. Bright Future received 7.2% and 4 MPs, losing 2, and the Social Democratic Alliance received 5.7 and 3 MPs, losing 6 since the last election. According to these figures, a two-party government cannot be formed. The largest parties are the Independence Party and the Left-Green Alliance, tied with the Pirates. The total number of MPs for those two parties is 31, whereas 32 seats at Parliament are required for a majority. A record number of women were elected as well. What is interesting to note is a comment made in an article appearing on the National Public Radio website. The article reported the following: if they were a political party, referring to women, women would need only 2 more seats to form a majority government in Iceland. After winning a record 30 seats in this weekend's national elections, voter turnout was just under 80%. Local media say that's a record low for Iceland. With female candidates winning nearly half of the 63 seats, Iceland now has the most equal parliament in the world without a quota system, according to the country's Ministry for Foreign Affairs. The outgoing government does not appear to have any support from the new surprise party that appears to hold the position of kingmaker. A separate article from the Iceland Monitor notes that the leader of Iceland's new centrist Regeneration Party, Benedikt Jóhannesson, has confirmed that his party will not agree to ally with the current government and keep them in power. In the week following the election, the question has been which party was going to be given the mandate to try to form a government. The Left-Green Party, which tied for second place with the Pirates, had indicated on October 31st their willingness to bring a governing coalition together and excluding the current 2 governing parties. The Iceland Monitor reported that Left-Green Party leader Katrín Jakobsdóttir has told the President of Iceland that the left-green movement is totally prepared to participate in and even lead a 5-party governing coalition covering the entire political center and left. As of November 3rd, however, it appears that the President has given the leading party, the Independence Party, the first opportunity to form a government. 2 parties, Bright Future and Regeneration, are now reported to have formed an alliance due to their platforms being so similar. These 2 parties together have 11 seats, which is 1 seat more than both the Left Greens and the Pirates. If Regeneration and Bright Future together agree to an alliance with the Independence Party, then they will form the new government. If talks fail, then it is possible that the 2 parties will align with the Left Greens and Pirates to form a 5-party coalition. Once this is done, then the question will be whether or not the new government will follow up and deliver on the anger and frustration felt by the Icelandic people regarding political and banking corruption. In South Korea now, the cosmic energies impacting our planet right now, in combination with the current astrological alignments, continue their massive shaking and rattling of the geopolitical system. In South Korea this week, Baxter Dimitri, in an article on October 30th on the Your Newswire website, reported that South Koreans are rising up in their millions and demanding the overthrow of their government after a series of leaks proved President Park Geun-hye is a puppet controlled by a covert shadow government. In a furor eerily similar to that surrounding Hillary Clinton's use of an email server and charity slush fund, critics are charging that Park has irresponsibly managed classified information and benefited from corrupt practices using nonprofits as a front. It seems that South Korea is being exposed as being as much controlled by the global cabal as the U.S. has been. The article notes, however, that any similarities between South Korea and the U.S. end there. The article continues, rather than apathetically accepting the situation like in America, South Koreans have risen up and the media has rounded on their leader. Citizens have taken to the streets en masse, and the country's media have called for the president to step down immediately or face impeachment. The essence of the scandal is this. It has emerged that Park, famously aloof even to top officials and aides, has been taking instructions from a group known as the Eight Fairies, including Choi Soon-sil, a shadowy billionaire with ties to George Soros and Angela Merkel in Germany. Choi has existed around the edges of South Korean power circles for decades, but has never held an official position. The Washington Post reports that calls for her resignation and even impeachment are resonating from across the political spectrum, and her approval ratings have dropped to a record low of 17%, according to two polls released on October 28th. The article adds that Choi is the daughter of the late Choi Tae-min, who was a kind of shaman fortune teller described in a 2000 cable from the U.S. Embassy in Seoul, and is described as a charismatic pastor. Locally, he is seen as a Korean Rasputin, who once held sway over Park and after her mother was assassinated in 1974. Rumors are rife that the late pastor had complete control over Park's body and soul during her formative years, and that his children accumulated enormous wealth as a result, according to a cable released by WikiLeaks. Park has strongly denied any improper relationship. But South Korean media have uncovered evidence that they claim shows that Choi Soon-sil wielded undue influence over the president. The Korea Herald on November 3rd in an article reported that President Park Geun-hye can be investigated over the Choi Soon-sil scandal despite conflicting constitutional interpretations. This according to Prime Minister nominee Kim Byung-jun, who said on Thursday, adding that all people are equal before the law. Coming over to North Dakota, where an increasing number of water protectors continue to bring peaceful energies amidst increasing fearful resistance from those who seek to preserve not only the status quo of a dying paradigm of living, but also those who seek to affirm their superiority, not only over the indigenous people of North America, but of humanity in general. Actor Mark Ruffalo is another celebrity who, alongside Shailene Woodley, has answered the call to stand with the water protectors against the Dakota Access Pipeline project. Recently, Ruffalo shared some meaningful words among a group of water protectors.
What's happening now, what you just heard, in case you don't know, people out there, as the police are moving in big force, they have tanks, they have military weapons, they are very aggressive, they're very antagonistic to the protectors, people who are here bearing witness peacefully to save their water, and somehow they're being made out to be criminals, and this is happening everywhere. This is what they did at Occupy Wall Street. People who stood up, came together, peacefully assembled, and they attacked them and made them look like they were criminals. Made them look like they were criminals. I was there. But what's beautiful about the time that we're living in now, and what's different from the time of all the previous fights up until now, and why that medicine has been in the ground for 200 years, is because we use the fossil fuel paradigm to move us to the point where we can leave it behind now. And now it's time to make the leap. It's an evolutionary leap into a new age of energy. But it takes courage to make that leap, to leave behind the past, to close the door on the past and open the door on the future. solar energy, wind energy, water energy is our future. It's here. It's ready to go. And at the same time, we're able to talk to each other in a way we've never been able to talk to each other before. We can move here, we can come here together today, and people all over the world who feel exactly the same way we do, hear us. And they're emboldened by us. And each time we step forward, the bad guys, the bad forces that want to keep us where we're at have to repulse back. And how do they respond? With more violence. But each time they hit us, they lose. They lose. And the more quiet and serene we are in the depths of that violence, the faster we win. That's what Gandhi told us. That's what Brother St. Martin Luther King taught us. That is where our strength is. Because we're right. And they know we're right. It's scary. I'm scared. But when we come together, our fear drops. Only when we come together does our fear drop. They want us to keep us separate, you know. That's the name of the game, keep us separate, divide us. Indians, blacks, whites, poor, rich, different, you're different. They don't care about you. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you want. They don't know what you need. That's a lie. That's a big, ugly lie they've been telling us. And yes, there's been systems, the fossil fuel system, that paradigm is coming to an end. It's dying. Where we take without reciprocating. It's unsustainable. Where we keep taking and taking, whether it's our workers, whether it's the land, and we take and we don't give back. It's dead. It's over. Now we're coming into this new period. But we're here. And so, we did it in New York. And when we won in New York, it says to the rest of the world, you know what, we can win. When we beat the Keystone Pipeline, we win. And we're going to keep winning. We're not turning back now. What are we going to do? Let them poison us to death? No. It's the black snake. No. The black snake is here. Your people talk to the black snake. And what more fitting group of people to lead us where we need to go now but the people who were first destroyed by this system that we've been living under. Your wisdom, the depth of your suffering gives you a credibility and a wisdom that we, the world, needs right now. And I'm sorry this is happening. I'm a white guy, man. I come here, I feel such deep pain. And then to have to live under this system, to survive under this system for 200 years, sorry. I'm really sorry. Now we got a chance to move forward. And we do it together. And it's black, and it's white, and it's Indian, it's brown, it's yellow. And the whole world is coming together under this belief. And I know it feels alone, but it's happening. And we have the technology now to move us to the next time, the next stage, the new era, where we give back what we're taking.
Ruffalo made reference to a prophecy known as the Black Snake. In his program with RT, Tom Hartman spoke a bit of the prophecy and addressed its meaning and its warning.
You know, we talk about minorities in the United States, and typically that's code for African Americans and Latinos. That also includes Asian Americans and Hispanics. But there's been very little discussion of Native Americans. Native Americans are not only, a minority in North America right now, but they were the original people here. We stole this country from them. We being white Europeans. And in the process of stealing the country, we slaughtered, we robbed, we raped, we pillaged. The devastation in the name of God and manifest destiny and just plain old theft and greed. This country was fully occupied. Fully occupied. Coast to coast, top to bottom. There wasn't a habitable spot where you didn't have Native American communities. There's extraordinary diversity in Native American communities across the United States, but they were stable, they were solid, they'd been here for 10 to 30,000, 10 to 23,000 years. And we made every attempt to destroy their culture, to outlaw their languages, to murder them, to poison them, to give them infected blankets with smallpox. We killed off millions of them with influenza and syphilis and diseases that we brought with us from Europe. And now there is a Lakota prophecy that is being fulfilled that is scaring the living bejesus out of Lakota people in South Dakota. They have this extraordinary story at theguardian.com titled, "We Are the Protectors, Not Protesters. Why I'm Fighting the North Dakota Pipeline." And I just wanted to share with you some of this. This is from Hyuskin American Horse, is his name. He lives in Cannonball, North Dakota. And here's what he has to say. This is important stuff. "Our elders have told us that if the Zuzeska snake, also known as the black snake, comes across our land, our world will end. Zuzeska has come in the form of the Dakota Access Pipeline, and so I must fight it. I am Sikangu Ogallala Lakota, born in Rosebud, South Dakota, and writing from the front line of the movement against the pipeline in Cannonball. I have been holding this ground with my Standing Rock Sioux tribe relatives since the spring. I am defending the land and water of my people as my ancestors did before me. The $3.8 billion pipeline project is proposed to carry approximately 470,000 barrels a day of fracked oil from the Bakken oil fields, 1,172 miles through the country's heartland to Illinois. The pipeline will cross the confluence of the Cannonball and Missouri rivers, where it threatens to contaminate our primary source of drinking water and damage the bordering indigenous burial grounds, historic villages, and Sundance sites that surround the area in all directions. Those sites that were not desecrated when the area was flooded in 1948 by the construction of the Ojai Dam are now in danger again. This week," writes Hyuskin American Horse in The Guardian, and I strongly recommend you check this article out. "This week, I have witnessed pipeline construction tear its way toward the water of the Missouri River, which flow into the Mississippi, threatening to pollute the aquifer that carries drinking water to 10 million people. I have seen where their machines clawed through the earth that once held my relatives' villages. I have watched law enforcement officials protect the oil industry by dragging away my indigenous brothers and sisters who stood up for our people. The fact that Energy Transfer Partners, the company behind the pipeline, would use the word Dakota, which in our language means friend or ally, in the name of its project is disrespectful. This pipeline is a direct threat to all Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people, especially our future generations. And we are not the only ones. We know that burning this oil is changing our climate, and indigenous people all over the world are bearing the brunt of the catastrophes that it causes. This pipeline poses strikingly similar problems to those posed by the now-defeated Keystone XL that's received only a fraction of the attention from mainstream media and big environmental groups. On July 26, we were surprised to learn that the North Dakota permits were approved by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to run the pipeline within a half mile of our reservation. Our tribal leaders have said that this was done without consulting tribal governments and without a meaningful study of the impacts that it will have. This is a violation of federal law and, more importantly, of our treaties with the U.S. government, the supreme law of the land. And you will note the Constitution does say that treaties actually supersede laws. It talks about how this historic battle is bringing together various tribes, the Ojibwa relatives from the Great Lakes, these relatives from Crow Creek, Cheyenne River, Yankton, as well as Dina and Ponca relatives from the south, are now joined by the Ogallala from Pine Ridge. So Native Americans from all over the country, and my apologies for mangling names. He said, to have all this unity of tribes standing together in solidarity before my eyes is a beautiful sight. Our tribes now live together, eat together, and pray together on the front lines. We are not protesters. We are protectors. We are peacefully defending our land and our ways of life. We are standing together in prayer and fighting for what is right. We are making history here. We invite you to stand with us in defiance of the black snake. Now, isn't it amazing that these people have a prophecy, the Lakota people have a prophecy that when a giant black snake goes across their land, which is what this pipeline is, that our world will end. It's incredible.
Numerous indigenous prophecies have spoken to different signs that would guide the changing times we are now living in. Given the ominous warning of this particular prophecy, it is therefore no surprise that so many individuals from so many backgrounds and locations are coming strongly to Standing Rock in order to stand like a rock against the presence of those who would seek to continue to harm humanity and destroy our planet for their pleasure, power, and profit. Given the powerful energies of the current times, I'm choosing to place my bet on the courageous souls at Standing Rock and all who stand with them in spirit, for they are the protectors answering the call to protect our future and deny those who would continue their enslavement and control of people while destroying ancient wisdom that is so desperately needed at this time. While on the subject of our environment and the harm that is being caused to our planet by fossil fuels, according to outgoing UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, November 4th has been an historic day.
The Paris Agreement on climate change enters into force. It is a historic day for people and the planet. All the world's nations have agreed to act to limit global temperature rise. All countries have pledged to strengthen resilience to the changes that are coming. The road to Paris was long. Over the course of many years, a growing chorus of scientists, civil society groups, and business leaders demanded action. In Paris, their governments responded. The United Nations has played a critical role in raising awareness and mobilizing action on climate change. We now plan to help countries to follow through on their promises. We have an unprecedented opportunity to build a safer, more sustainable future. We have no time to lose. The global thermostat continues to rise. Each month brings further evidence of the devastating impacts of climate change. We need climate action to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And we need everyone to be involved. Governments, businesses, investors, safety groups, young people and citizens everywhere. Let us do all we can in the workplace, the marketplace, the polling booth, in communities and in homes to realize the promise of Paris. Let us join hands to meet the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced.
The words sound very promising and sincere, but I still cannot accept these words knowing that there are very reasonable and very practical solutions that will solve this alleged problem of global climate change much more quickly. An article on the Press TV website from Iran has reported that the Paris Agreement seeks to wean the world off of fossil fuels in the second half of the century, limiting the rise in average world temperatures to well below 2 degrees Celsius, or 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit, above pre-industrial times. A report by the UN Environmental Program released on Thursday said annual emissions must be kept below 42 billion tons of carbon dioxide by the year 2030 for the world to have a chance to meet the goals set out in the Paris Agreement. Coming up in general news, I will look a bit more at the argument about the scam and hoax of global warming and why I have a challenge accepting the words of Ban Ki-moon as being sincere. In financial news for the week, you heard moments ago that the Paris Agreement for Climate Change has now come into effect. Depending upon the source one chooses to accept in regard to this agreement, one may be more interested in what this agreement means for the environment. One may be more interested in what it means for the global financial paradigm, or one may see through the agreement and see that both issues are relevant and meaningful to the future of our planet in one international agreement. The Press TV article mentioned in the last story also made an interesting comment that reading between the lines, one may be able to link to the comments to changes in the global financial system also. The article reported that a previously anticipated time frame was given as 2020 for the implementation of the agreement, but ratification was swift compared to other international treaties, showing strong international support. However, about 100 countries have yet to agree, and much work needs to be done on the fine details of the pact to ensure it is not watered down. Global News in Canada, in an article on November 4th, used a CCTV audio clip of Nicola Stern, chair of the Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the Environment at the London School of Economics, as he commented on the rapid advancements being made by China, allegedly in terms of addressing climate concerns. Although this is probably true, and if one accepts that China is now pushing the world quickly towards a new financial paradigm, this audio clip may also point to a hidden reference that China is now pulling the global strings and forcing countries to act much more quickly if they wish to participate in the new global economy, allegedly being led now by a gold-backed renminbi, the currency of China.
China will have the peak of its emissions much before 2030, probably sometime between 2020 and 2025. And the evidence for that is how fast China is moving in energy efficiency and how fast China is moving to alternative forms of energy, like wind and solar and nuclear and hydroelectricity and some gas. China is moving strongly in that direction, partly through energy efficiency, using energy much more efficiently, partly by using other forms of energy. So China is showing that it's possible to cut back on coal, to cut back on air pollution, to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions.
The New Delhi TV news website, NDTV, also reported on the story, and their article offers a hint of the alleged financial agreements put into place. According to this article, specifically, the agreement calls on countries to combat climate change and to accelerate and intensify the actions and investments needed for a sustainable low-carbon future and to adapt to the increasing impacts of climate change. The agreement calls for appropriate financial flows, a new technology framework, and an enhanced capacity-building framework to support action by developing countries and the most vulnerable countries in line with their own national objectives. Enhanced transparency of action and support through a more robust transparency framework are also among the key aims. Assuming there is truth to the financial agreements contained within the climate agreement, then it would seem that we will start noticing the change quite quickly as the agreement rolls out. As the U.S. dollar continues its decline as the global reserve currency, and as the U.S. Western Israeli hegemony in the world continues its decline. With so many weapons of mass distraction being dropped by the media, the focus is being shifted away from the financial system. As mentioned, it has been reported that the Paris Agreement was merely the public show to ratify quickly the hidden agreements related to a new financial paradigm. Other countries and other ideas, however, are gaining the attention of those who do not trust that a new paradigm is coming and instead are creating their own opportunities. It is being reported this week that Bitcoin may be on the verge of making a comeback. RT reported on October 28th that a depreciating Chinese currency has boosted demand for the cryptocurrency Bitcoin as investors sought protection from the falling yuan. With the yuan hitting a 6-year low against the U.S. dollar on Monday, Chinese investors rushed to buy Bitcoin. Experts say the Chinese are using the digital currency as a way to circumvent capital controls. Avoiding the pitfalls of the cabal-controlled banking systems was the primary reason for why Bitcoin was created. The article continues, there is a premium in Bitcoin pricing in China as a hedge against the yuan. Jack Liu, the Hong Kong-based chief strategy officer at OKCoin, told Bloomberg. Strength is likely to carry into year-end. China accounts for about 90% of all Bitcoin trading on exchanges. The country has strict capital controls, which makes it difficult for the Chinese to convert the yuan into foreign currency and limits the amount of cash investors can move abroad. Some analysts say the price of Bitcoin will continue to rise as more devaluations are expected from the Chinese government. As part of their election platform, the Icelandic Pirate Party had indicated their desire to make the cryptocurrency a bigger part of the Icelandic economy. In a related story, another financial tool related to Bitcoin appears to have had some success. An article by Byron Kay, reporting for Reuters on October 24th, has reported that the first cross-border transaction between banks using multiple blockchain applications has taken place. Commonwealth Bank of Australia and Wells Fargo and Company said on Monday, resulting in a shipment of cotton to China from the United States. The article adds that blockchain is a web-based transaction processing and settlement system whose efficiency banks say could slash costs. It creates a golden record of any given set of data that is automatically replicated for all parties in a secure network, eliminating any need for third-party verification. The transaction is not the first involving the decentralized database used since 2009 for the digital currency Bitcoin, but it is a milestone for the traditional banking industry, which at first shied away from the technology, partly because it makes money flows harder for law enforcement agencies to track. Led by a consortium of over 70 of the world's biggest financial institutions called R3, the banking industry has been researching ways to harness the speed, accuracy, and efficiency afforded by blockchain. One of its benefits is removing people from the transaction processing. That has been seen as especially appealing for cross-border trades, which are typically held up by duplication of payment processing and time zone differences. Virtual currencies have struggled since their creation due to concerns about safety. Blockchain claims to have addressed security and abuse concerns, and its encryption represents a threat to those controlling the current global financial paradigm through monetary transfer tools such as the SWIFT system. Both Russia and China have created their own international monetary transfer systems to compete with SWIFT and to also get around the corruption and theft that has been tied to the banking cabal control of SWIFT. The website blockchain.info is a site that monitors and tracks monetary transfers using Bitcoin, and the link will be in the show summary for those interested in learning more. In general news, I have commented a couple of times over the last month about the scam that is global warming. Although there may be some truthful facts contained within the argument for man-made climate change, the problem appears to be the real reasons behind those certain facts, while selectively ignoring others. An article has crossed my path this week that may be beneficial for those who are still on the fence about climate change or who are seeking to understand better the issues and perhaps the lies so they can speak with greater intelligence to those who are arguing for the false justification of global warming as opposed to the more relevant justification of global warming. The article by C.E. Dyer, posted on November 2nd to the Federalist Papers website, shares comments made by Mike Rowe, a TV personality who narrates the program How the Universe Works on the Science Channel. He recently detailed in a personal Facebook posting a conversation he had with scientists who supported the climate change argument. He described overhearing a conversation with the scientists, and he was invited to offer his thoughts. Without detailing the whole conversation, Rowe pointed out that skepticism is, or should be, at the heart of the scientific argument, and the scientists agreed. Rowe then asked the scientists why those who critically question global warming are repeatedly called deniers. One of the scientists allegedly said, because global warming is real and man is causing it and our planet is in terrible trouble. There is truth to this, but I suspect that the scientist is not fully aware of the argument and the hidden facts. The article continues, global warming does not hold up to strong scrutiny. It simply doesn't. Again, whether or not man-made climate change is real or not isn't the issue here, but rather the fact that those pushing it mock, shame, and try to shut down dissent. Why is that? There's a lot of money in the climate change hoax. There's also a big political angle. The government scares people into thinking that the end is nigh and that the only way to turn it around is to cede control to the federal government and allow them to force their economy-killing policies on business. You know what else it does? It allows them to knock down the West and move toward globalism. Why else would you do something that obliterates the economy based on dubious science? Or any science, for that matter. Even if it is true, how much sense does it make to cripple our economy as we watch other economies who have no intention of complying with the restrictions overtake us? There is climate change to some degree, and yes, it is being done by humans, or at least there is a participation of humans in it. The argument is that the planet is warming due to an overabundance of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. I realize I am repeating myself again, as I just said the exact same thing within the last few weeks. But if the argument is going to sink in with people, it is something that must be heard a few times. If global warming truly is happening because of an excess of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, then money is not needed to fund educational campaigns which make people like Al Gore rich. What is needed is to stop big oil and the coal industries from continuing to use energy sources that massively pollute the environment. Then, the logging industry would need to be shut down because the forests and plants that breathe carbon dioxide need to be kept alive. Thirdly, a massive global campaign of growing hemp would be needed. Hemp has the potential to replace big oil, the coal industry, and the logging industry combined. Hemp can also clean soil, and it absorbs more CO2 than most plants and trees. The fact that hemp is not being actively used in the world at this time, nor is it being offered as a solution to the climate crisis, is due to an active campaign by those in power to prevent this information from being used in the most life-honoring way to help humanity and our planet. In disclosure-related news for this week, we take a look at a few articles that seem to be connected together, and in turn are connected to an alleged agreement regarding next week's U.S. election. I've already commented on this election. I am cautiously observant about anything that is connected to this election, and thus I have to add that some listeners will be able to pick out the items of truth in the following stories, while others may feel more inclined to brush off these stories as fake and sensational. It is possible that these stories are not true. However, there are parts within these stories that feel true to me personally, and thus I am open-minded enough to consider the stories without passing a judgment as to whether these stories are completely true or completely false. There could be some disinformation or possibly some accidental misinformation. Information given with good intentions, but may have some factual errors. Several weeks ago, CVN reported on Tom DeLonge, former lead singer of the group Blink-182, who has been making some extraordinary comments about being connected to a larger movement to disclose the existence of our galactic families to the people of Earth. I remind those who are new to CVN that the existence of our galactic families is well known and accepted in almost every part of the world except North America, where there has been a massive cover-up campaign in place to prevent people from knowing that not only are we not alone in the universe, multiverse, or omniverse, but that civilizations, both positive and negative, have been interacting with humans upon this planet, and that there are suppressed technologies of a non-Earth origin that could radically clean up and change our planet, almost literally overnight. Yahoo News picked up DeLonge's story on October 21st. Yahoo reported that last week it was revealed that former Blink-182 frontman Tom DeLonge has sent multiple emails to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign chairman John Podesta asking about aliens and UFOs. Longtime listeners will know that John Podesta has long been a supporter of seeking the truth with regards to the existence of UFOs and ETs. John Austin, writing for the London Express, asked on October 22nd, "Is the world about to be told aliens exist?" In his article, Austin writes that what seems like ridiculous subject matter to most is of massive importance to admirable national security leadership. It's easy to poke fun about the topic from an armchair, but unless you're invited to the meetings I have been a part of, then no more laughing, writes DeLong. Big things are coming, says DeLong. Project is still on. Believe it or not, things just got bigger. What the Yahoo article did not report, that Austin did, was that in one email to Podesta, DeLong even told Mrs. Clinton's team where the remains of the Roswell crashed flying saucer were taken and stored away from public view, claiming it was the Wright-Patterson U.S. Air Force Base in Ohio, which contains the Air Force Research Laboratory to develop aerospace warfare technologies, with a budget of around $3 billion. Michael Salla, in an article on November 3rd on the Exopolitics website, shares a bit more about emails and disclosure. Salla writes that in a November 3rd update, Secret Space Program whistleblower Corey Goode has received new information suggesting we are on the verge of an official disclosure of information about a secret space program run by a consortium of military and corporate entities in the USA and its major global allies. The release will be the first stage in a gradual disclosure process that has been negotiated behind the scenes between different institutions and global elites with greatly diverging agendas on how much and how quickly the disclosure process should move forward. What gives Goode's latest update special significance, according to Salla, are recent WikiLeaks documents revealing confidential emails between Clinton presidential campaign chair Podesta with two U.S. Air Force generals and the head of Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, who are working behind the scenes with Rockstar DeLong on a UFO disclosure initiative linked to the 2016 presidential election. Salla adds the following. DeLong says he is being assisted by 10 high-level insiders to reveal the truth behind a secret space program run out of Area 51 using anti-gravity TR-3B dual-purpose aircraft and spacecraft. Thanks to WikiLeaks, we now know that Major General William McCasland, from retired U.S. Air Force, former head of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, is working with DeLong. And so is Rob Weiss, current head of Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, which has important research and development facilities at Area 51. Another U.S. Air Force officer assisting DeLong is Major General Michael Carey, who wrote an endorsement for DeLong's co-authored book, Secret Machines, released in April this year. We now know the names of 3 of the alleged 10 senior advisors from the U.S. military-industrial complex that are assisting DeLong. The WikiLeaks documents confirm that DeLong has indeed found high-level support for his UFO disclosure initiative, which is part of an officially sanctioned UFO disclosure process. Salla reports that Goode met with a contact in the secret space program. The name Gonzalez was given, but it is said that this is not his real name. According to Goode, Gonzalez stated that all sides had agreed on a rolling disclosure. These groups had decided that there would very likely be a public uprising unless they disclosed this information to humanity in bite-sized pieces. These groups had further decided that there would be a limited ET disclosure, which would include a race of human-like beings that has worked very closely with various nations of the world for some time. This group has decided that prior to any ET introductions, they will first disclose one of the military-industrial complex's secret space programs. In fact, the leadership of one of these secret space programs has apparently been informed that they will be disclosed. The program that these groups plan on disclosing is one that is controlled by the Air Force, the DIA, and the NSA. It consists of a number of unmanned as well as manned satellites. This will include at least 2 manned space stations that are only about 50 to 100 years more advanced than the International Space Station. A disclosure of manned space stations using cloaking and other advanced technologies would definitely dominate the international news cycle. It would usher in revolutionary changes for the aerospace industry and greatly impact a new generation of space enthusiasts. However, such a disclosure would be far less than what Good and others like William Tompkins have been publicly revealing about more advanced as far as secret space programs go, including kilometers-long space carriers capable of interstellar travel. The update from Corey Good, appearing on his website, spherebeingalliance.org, offers not only insights about the alleged upcoming disclosure process, but also adds some information about shifting to the optimal temporal reality. For those who do not do space talk, this is a reference to vibrational timeline that best suits humanity and our planet as we shift away from a lower 3D reality to a higher vibration 5th dimensional reality, where everything exists in a much purer form and the lower densities that govern the global cabal cannot exist. At the quantum level, with each choice a human makes, there is ultimately a new timeline possibility, and we are shifting to a new timeline where the energies of peace, health, and abundance for all are becoming more and more possible. But there may still be some timelines available where humans may experience some unpleasant discomfort, to say the least, as we move collectively forward in co-creating that new peaceful and abundant paradigm free of the global cabal, if humanity collectively chooses that. In Good's article posted on his website, he offers the following. Imagine a future where we have full disclosure and the complete removal of all control structures in our solar system. We rapidly come into contact with incredible new technologies that transform our lives in almost unimaginable ways and meet a host of new friends in our greater galactic family. In our last update, I discussed our need as a group consciousness to choose this optimal temporal reality, writes Good. This probable future is the best case scenario for humanity by far. Right now, each one of us is deciding whether we will co-create this glorious future or any of a number of other scenarios that could take much longer and would be significantly less triumphant as well. According to an entity connected to Corey Good, Care-Ear, we can still achieve this optimal temporal reality if we continue to wake up to the corruption that lies we have been fed our entire lives. Good goes into details of his meetings, but the piece of information I'm choosing to focus on in this article are his references to a certain number of people who are ready to ascend, allegedly, at this time. For any new listeners, the term ascension is given to the shift that our planet is beginning to move through to exist at a vibrational level that humans interpret as being higher because it is compared to our current denser vibrational state of existence. If one thinks of water as it begins to boil, it reaches a certain temperature, which causes the molecules to reach a certain rate of vibration so they can separate from the boiling liquid and become separate water particles in air. Water vapor. Still water, but just in a different form that most current human eyes cannot see. Confusion and concern have risen from sources claiming certain magical numbers, such as 144,000, or Good's claim of 300,000 are currently ready to ascend. Given the current population of the planet, this number seems alarmingly small, and many may be fearful that they will be left out of the current process of ascension. I say current process because, as I currently think I understand it, each soul will go through its ascension when it has completed and assimilated all the lessons it came to experience in a 3D reality. Sources suggest that Earth is ready to make such a move, but not all humans will go with her. Some are now ready to go, others are getting themselves ready and will be ready, others will fearfully remain in a three-dimensional reality because they are so attached to the current reality. Others will choose to leave because they came here as star seeds, and their role and purpose will be finished upon the planet. There is no right nor wrong, and I will discuss this in tonight's final words. Good, in receiving information from his galactic contact, Carrier, he writes, the 300,000 figure was provided after I had expressed an interest in the number of people who are ready for energetic changes, referring to ascension. I had also asked what percentage of service to others, those around me, and I had currently achieved in our journey. Good continues, I was more than a little shocked and troubled by the answers I received. Not only was I not in the 300,000, my service to others percentage was much lower than I would have guessed. I believe this is probably true of most of us on the planet right now. Carrier then communicated that at that moment I had expressed interest in this subject. The number of people ready to ascend was less than 300,000. It was further communicated that this number is in a constant flux from moment to moment, as is our temporal reality. The entity apparently asked Good to clarify this information to help alleviate concerns among people. Good continues, millions of children and adults are ET souls, or wanderers, and their numbers were not included in the 300,000. As of 1981, the number of wanderers was approximated at being close to 65 million. By now, those numbers are significantly higher, possibly up to 300 million or more. With a population of 7 billion, that would mean a little over 1 out of every 23 people on Earth is an ET soul. In law of one terms, these souls have come in from a level significantly more advanced than the basic requirements for graduation from third to fourth density life. For this same reason, the vast majority of wanderers will return to their native density as we go through the quantum leap referred to in the law of one. Therefore, the number of 300,000 only referred to a select group within the greater majority of people on Earth who have never lived above third density vibration at this point in their own journey. Good also added from his galactic source that the only real danger wanderers face is by becoming consciously unloving to a significant enough degree in one or more lifetimes that a multi-incarnational karmic alleviation is then required. In certain rare cases, this might cause them to miss out on our soon-to-be upcoming graduation and have to repeat another 3D cycle. Concerning geopolitical and geoeconomic events, Good shared that a sudden increase in meetings, as well as their urgent content, was a sign that events may soon escalate to a point where they will be visible to the whole world. From what I was hearing about recent negotiations between the Earth Alliance and those secret Earth syndicates, it sounded like quite a lot was beginning to occur on the financial and geopolitical front. As challenging as it is, and I can say this because I also create tension for myself in my current life path, it is still vital to acknowledge all that we are feeling and to anchor the highest energies and vision possible to create an outcome that is for the highest good of our planet and for humanity. Your best attempts will vary from day to day, but they are so very much appreciated in helping move this shift along as comfortably, as easily, as safely, as painlessly, and as quickly as possible. For those choosing to read the full article, all links will appear in the show summary for this story. Over to science-related news now. On numerous fronts, the world is rapidly moving forward in revealing information that has been formerly suppressed. Regarding our galactic families, it seems as though there is a campaign of soft disclosure, which means information is released in bits and pieces from various sources so it can filter through the collective consciousness. The same could also be said for science, that a soft disclosure campaign may be underway. An article appearing on the London Daily Mail website by Harry Pettit on November 3rd reports that Einstein once boldly claimed that the laws of thermodynamics were the only physical theory of the universe that will never be overthrown. That all changed late last month when scientists from the Argonne National Laboratory at the University of Chicago found a loophole in the system, one that allows them to break the second law of thermodynamics. The finding has huge implications for our understanding of the universe, not least because it presents us with a chance to one day create perpetual motion machines. What Pettit is referring to, of course, is the idea of free energy, a concept that many around the world already accept as fact, but cabal-controlled groups such as those behind the oil and the coal industries are especially reluctant to have the world know about free energy because it would destroy their profits and diminish their corporate control over humanity and the planet. Pettit continues, if hooked up to a power plant turbine, they could feed us with infinite power. The 4 laws of thermodynamics set the physical rules for our universe and were coined by physicists and engineers looking to boost the efficiency of the steam engine in the mid-19th century. The laws determine how temperature, energy, and entropy, a measure of quantum chaos, work together to build and destroy matter. Everything from the creation of the tiniest atom to the collapse of distant black holes is controlled by these 4 laws. Scientists have apparently found a loophole to the second law of thermodynamics. The article goes on, the second law is the reason our phones and laptops need to be recharged, and that our sun will one day die out. It states that energy cannot repeat in an infinite loop within a closed system, and so we must replenish what is lost. Now, the physicists at the Argonne National University have found that small loophole that could allow scientists to bypass this second law, potentially giving us access to machines that generate infinite energy. I will not go into all the science-related terminology that many will not understand. For those who are interested in the science behind this, the link will be in the show summary for this story. Free energy has been known about for many decades, if not longer. It has been a suppressed technology. Many new alternative free energy sources are now coming out, and technology is being rapidly improved upon as the soft disclosure process continues. That is really the key point of this story, that more and more mainstream media, or media that are on the fringe of mainstream, are beginning to get the news out to people that we are moving into a reality where the old paradigm can no longer exist, and that the new energies and technologies are being brought forth, some through the conscious efforts of courageous people seeking to expose this information, while other sources reveal information in a more controlled manner. In the show summary for this story, a number of links to stories relating to free energy, solar power, and other technologies, including the newly released solar roofing technology released by Tesla Corporation and Elon Musk, will be there for those choosing to follow up. As human consciousness expands away from the more limited 3D consciousness in which Einstein's theories on thermodynamics existed, I suspect more and more people will continue to break the barriers of all that we once thought were the limits of physical and scientific laws and principles. Finally, in health-related news, we take a look at the spice known as saffron. Saffron is a well-known spice in both Indian and Asian cultures and is noted for its culinary, medicinal, and health benefits. One article appearing on the Nutrition and You website notes the following about saffron. This exotic spice is a native of southern Europe and today cultivated worldwide in many countries, particularly in Spain, Italy, France, Greece, Turkey, Iran, and in the Indian states of Jammu and Kashmir. Another article from the Natural News website offers that in ancient cultures, saffron was used to relieve stomach aches and kidney stones, and was also used as an agent in improving the circulation of blood. Saffron's healing effects were also recognized in the U.S. long ago, and some grandmothers still mix a few sprigs of saffron in hot milk for their grandchildren to drink. Today, saffron is used for a wide variety of health conditions, and many of its benefits have been validated with scientific studies. Saffron contains a number of carotenoids, which are believed to be largely responsible for a number of saffron's health benefits, including inhibiting skin tumors, improving arthritis, improving eye and vision health. In a recent trial, every participant who took saffron had vision improvements, and researchers said the aromatic herb may hold the key to preventing the loss of sight in the elderly. Notably, saffron has been reported to significantly help vision in the instance of cataracts. Saffron is not cheap, however. The article explains why, writing that the reason saffron carries a hefty price tag is that its production is extremely labor-intensive. It takes 80,000 crocus flowers to make only 500 grams of saffron after toasting. Despite its cost, many herbalists and natural health enthusiasts consider saffron's health benefits to be worth their weight in gold. The benefits of saffron continue. The article adds that saffron also contains the compound crocin, which scientists believe to be the primary compound responsible for recent study results, which found saffron promotes learning, memory retention, and recall capacity. Based on the early study results, scientists believe that saffron might be useful in the treatment and management of age-related mental impairment. Among the multiple health benefits of saffron are the treatment of asthma, menstrual discomfort, depression, atherosclerosis, whooping cough, and many other health problems. Some studies have also indicated that saffron may also have anti-cancer properties as well. The active constituents in saffron are also known to produce positive effects on people with neurodegenerative disorders. In addition, massaging the gums with saffron helps reduce soreness and inflammation of the mouth and the tongue. Like many health products, there are imitations and fake saffron products available on the market. To recognize the difference between real and fake saffron, the article suggests adding a bit of saffron to warm water or milk. According to the article, if the liquid colors immediately, then the saffron is fake. Genuine saffron must soak in either warm water or milk for at least 10 to 15 minutes before its deep red gold color and the saffron aroma begin to develop. This week, an article has appeared on the Press TV News website, and the article is reporting that Iran says it has exported more than $300 million worth of medicinal herbs since January. Peyman Yosefi Azar, the director of Medicinal Herbs Department of Iran's Ministry of Agriculture, Jihad, told the domestic media that saffron comprised almost two-thirds of the exports. Azar emphasized that there is already a market worth around $150 billion for medicinal herbs in Europe. IRNA reported. The official added that the different kinds of herbal tea comprise half of the market of medicinal herbs. Yosefi Azar further emphasized that Iran still needs to devise serious plans to promote its herbal industry in what could eventually become an important non-oil source of revenue. Saffron is the crown jewel of Iran's botanical products. The country produces around 210 tons of saffron each year, of which some 70% is exported. As always, it is up to each individual listener to investigate whether or not any herbal or natural medicine is appropriate for one's own health. Not every solution will work for every person, because disease is based on unique frequencies and vibrations within each individual, and the effects may vary or not be noticeable at all. Are you one of many experiencing spiritual fatigue? An article crossed my path this week that resonated with me, and I suspect that it has resonated with many who chose to read it. The article, by Katie Galante, appearing on the Our Shifting Perspective website on October 30th, explores the fatigue that so many seem to be feeling right now. My soul definitely feels fatigued at this time. I'm tired of so many things right now that are not so life-honoring or contributing to the movement of humanity towards a healthier, more peaceful paradigm of living and being. We know it's coming. Many of you feel it, and even those who may not be able to feel it yet, like myself, we still know at a deeply intuitive level that something profound is happening, and it is impacting everything and affecting each human in a way that is as uniquely different and equally beautiful for one as it is for another in her or his service to humanity and the planet at this time. Galante begins the article writing the following. A lot of old souls are really tired right now. The project Shift Earth has been lasting a few years too many, and many feel that they are barely still standing while they crawl to the finish line. Honor your soul fatigue, but also don't quit. Ask the universe to recharge you and know that it will. Also ask for your field to be cleared and for your energy to be topped up at night so that you can truly rest when you sleep. Many of us need the rejuvenation. Some people seem to be taking on more energies than others for the purposes of contributing to the global cleansing. I believe I am one of these people. I feel like I am taking on energies of the collective consciousness, and I find energies of fear, anger, and others appearing within me, and I am not sure where they are coming from, because these energies do not always feel as though they are my own. Since each individual is different, one has to find one's own ways and one's own tools for dealing with energies that are impacting an individual. Some need intense physical exercise, some meditation, some will work with crystals, some will work with shamanic energies, while others still will seek out their own solutions that may involve a combination of one or more of the above. Galante continues, ask to be cleared of collective energy. While it is important for us to contribute to the collective field and stabilize it, we don't have to carry the collective energy 24/7. A lot of chaos right now, some of it manufactured. So it is important to have clear fields and ongoing source downloads so we can contribute to the uplifting of the energy rather than being drowned by it. Imagine the source energy descending into your crown, spreading into your body and recharging and uplifting every cell and molecule within you. And then see this energy descending to your root chakra, rooting it into the ground and charging the earth core. See the energy then pulsing outwards, clearing and recharging the earth field and its grids. This is a very simple process. It recharges you and boosts the vibration of both yourself and the earth, very needed at this time to counter conflict and chaos energies, writes Galante. Of course, it's always easier said than done when you are dealing with your own issues coming forth. May you be guided to the right tools, the right messages, and the right messengers for you so that you can remain in your highest service to humanity and the planet at this critical time. In this week's final words, what side of right are you on? Have you taken time recently to really observe nature? In the room where I am currently staying, there is a spider web up in the corner. I observe that the spider does not actively seek out food, but patiently waits until something flies into its web. Sometimes a fly will break the web and escape, and other times the fly will become food for the spider. If the web is broken, The spider repairs the web and continues waiting. Nature is just that, nature, and it simply is. The only thing that gives meaning to nature are the judgments and interpretations that impressionable humans make about it. Nature does not see itself as right or wrong. It merely is. And this is one part of the lesson that is available for humans to learn should one choose it. I say one in this case because, as always, what is truth for one human is not necessarily truth for another human. Last week, I wrote and spoke about how we can't impose our truths upon others. I was reminded of this week when I went to a shopping mall the other day, something I do not do much of anymore. I went into a store. I got into 2 discussions with 2 employees at the store about global events while looking at jeans and trying them on. The first woman was removed from serving me because the manager, perhaps understandably, felt I was distracting her from her work. A second woman was also removed from serving me because we were talking about following one's truth and listening to one's heart. I had encouraged her to follow her truth and her passion. What seemed right to me was obviously not right for the store manager. The manager was right, in her perspective, to not have her staff distracted from work. The 2 women seemed to be interested as they were asking a few questions. But is it also possible that they were being polite, hoping to make a sale? Was it right to ask questions while at work when an opportunity arose to do so? Was it right to pretend to be interested in hoping to make a sale? It's not my place to judge them. They both seemed very sincere, and it was unfortunate that the conversations could not continue. By the way, I do offer my sincere apologies to those women if they got in trouble because of me. They will never hear this, but I sincerely regret placing them in a difficult situation with their manager, and I hope that they will be able to forgive me. Coming back to the point, we look at all the information coming out now, and so many people are getting wound up into emotional knots. The life experiences of one tells one person that something or someone is right, while the life experiences of another tell that individual that something or someone else is right. Everyone else is stuck in the middle of the truth of one versus the truth of another, and by choosing sides, one begins to contribute to the illusion that is duality of the world and energetic vibration we currently exist in. As I've tried to share with listeners over the years, we have created these criteria of separation that help us to define our uniquely different yet equally beautiful perspective of life, that mystical and magical combination of physical, non-physical, visible and invisible processes that allow our human experience and human journey to unfold individually and collectively. We have been conditioned to see life from perspectives of race, religion, culture, gender, orientation, political belief, mental or physical ability, language, eating habits, lifestyle choices, living choices, and the list goes on and on and on. With all the information and disinformation being put out at this time, humanity needs to confront the duality of our current paradigm of living and maybe begin to expand that paradigm in preparation for changes that one may not fully understand, nor may one even believe at this time. Each human spins his or her own web. Certain pieces of information, certain messages, and even certain messengers get caught in this web of truth for each individual. Messages shake our webs, and some will break our webs and fall away. Sometimes we have to cut away a piece of our web in order to let something fall away. A dear friend, a loved family member who is part of our world but who does not accept the truth that you are now embracing. Letting go of a job that has no meaning for you, or letting go of a toxic relation with another, or perhaps even one who is just growing in a different direction that no longer agrees with one's truth. We take what is meaningful for us, or that which allows us to justify the reality of the world that we are wanting to see, and it is right for each individual experiencing it, until it is no longer right for that individual. A dear friend who works with shamanic energies shared the following with me on this day, and it is relevant to this conversation. She shared the following: "We are desperately trying to hold the old paradigm together, and by that I mean duality, but it needs to collapse. We are all bouncing around looking for the truth. Who is right? Who is wrong? No such thing. That will drive us mad. The reality we have created for ourselves is that there is no truth out there to be found. That is pretty uncomfortable, but so it is. We need to relax and let go of our resistance to what is, because what is arising is a totally new consciousness which will sustain us. All is truly well. Evolution moves toward the light and cannot be stopped. We may still be choosing to have our lessons of duality so that we can choose better. Duality says there must be a right or a wrong. Not necessarily so. Duality exists to allow humans to create from their choices and learn lessons, both life-affirming lessons and lessons that represent opportunities for growth, shall I say. I prefer not to call them bad lessons, because if one is open-minded to learning from an experience that initially may not be pleasant, one may find that it leads to something better, perhaps happier, perhaps more meaningful. First, however, one had to experience being broken down in some way. A relation with someone may end, and it may feel like the end of the world in that moment. One has the choice to wallow in self-pity and play the victim to gain attention from others. One may choose to react with anger and hatred, while another may choose compassion and forgiveness. The human ego loves to judge according to right and wrong. But who was right? Each was reacting according to the best information each individual had in that current moment of now. For some, that information, that individual, or that experience may have been helpful, or it may have the appearance of being harmful. I confess that I am not always the best practitioner of what I share with all of you. There are times when I try really hard. There are also times when I feel completely burnt out and I become lazy and I get depressed when something doesn't change in my world as quickly as I had been hoping and creating. In some cases, changes that I have been hoping and praying for have not manifested in over 10 to 15 years. Was my ego wanting something that was not for my highest good? Was I sabotaging myself with negative thoughts that prevented me from manifesting what I believe I wanted? My life experiences prepared me, just as they have prepared each of you, with the current blueprint that guides your current choices. What if I had made a different choice, either more life-honoring or less life-honoring years ago? Would I be any more right today? The truth is, I will never know, at least in this current physical lifetime. As humanity and our planet evolve, and as one chooses to evolve to this higher vibrational state that it appears we are moving towards, I choose to believe that humans will have the ability to be more aware of and more familiar with a multidimensional reality that we are only now starting to become more aware of and connected to. For those getting wound up in knots over the U.S. election, why bother giving the controllers your energies of fear and attention? Why bother giving attention to the mainstream media who are there to push your buttons and get people into states of mass hysteria, confusion, or mass revolt, or whatever? I observe the election, and I observe stories that are being put out, both positive and negative. Am I attached to them? Not really. Only just enough, because my role as a journalist is to observe these stories and then determine if they are worth your valuable time and attention. Some weeks I do better at this than other weeks. Am I right? Are you right? Is your job right? Is your partner right? Is your current life path right for you? Are you empowered and strong enough to live your truth as you are now choosing to define it for yourself? Are you willing to risk reaching out to connect with others? Of course, take a lesson from me and try not to overdo it when you are talking to people working in stores. Plant a seed, and if they appear interested, perhaps offer them a way to connect, and then let them choose it if it is meaningful for them to do so. Create a wonderful week until our next moment of now. So that is a sample of the unfolding higher consciousness news around the world this week. Cosmic Vision News is broadcast weekly from the CosmicVisionNews.com website. Links to stories used in this broadcast are published in the show summary, which is also on the website. CVN can be found on Facebook, Minds.com, YouTube, Twitter, Google+, and LinkedIn. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I'm Jeffrey West, reminding you that you can't change the truth of who you are, but the truth of who you are can change you. Until our next moment of now, stay grounded in love, hold the vision of light and peace in your heart, and keep your eyes to the skies. Disclosure is unfolding all around you. Namaste.